Hey, how are you? I'm Dustin.
And I'm Steve, your international style boy and #1 Brizzy Lions fan. Welcome back to the Wedding Photo Hangover podcast, the finest phototainment in the world. We are an irreverent look at photography. This podcast, like aspirin, will help you recover from your wedding hangover. And have I got a wedding hangover this week, Dustin? Oh, Dustin and I are recording on a Monday night after Jen and I had 5 weddings this weekend. So
Yes, but let's be frank. You yourself did not shoot 5 weddings. How many weddings did you yourself and you shoot?
Me being Frank?
Mm-hmm.
Frank didn't shoot any weddings. Steve shot 2.
I shot 2.
Cool beans.
Labor Day weekend, baby. It's the Super Bowl weekend of weddings.
Soup it up, yeah. We've never had 5 weddings on the same weekend for Labor Day weekend. We've had 5 weddings on the same weekend other weekends, but never Labor Day weekend. So this is a big one for us this year. Yeah.
Finally doing it right.
Finally. Are we? Because I feel dead inside. And also, when I went to pick up my kids from my mom's house today, I did fall asleep on her couch for about an hour.
That'll do it.
So is that doing it right? Because it feels like I did it wrong.
Well, when you take the sum average of every wedding you shot this week and you multiply that by 5, then as soon as you see that number on the calculator, you typically feel alive again.
Oh, okay. See, the thing for me was I was just stressed out all week thinking about this weekend, thinking about, are all of our shooters going to show up? Are we going to have enough cards? Are the cards going to get damaged? Is anything going to go wrong? Are we going to be able to back everything up? Am I going to be safe or am I going to get screwed over? Last time we recorded, I talked about the terrible anxiety I had for over a year when we lost a card, which a little bit of follow-up. A few people have asked me why I didn't talk about it for a year, and the answer on the podcast. And the answer is because I was scared to talk about it until I heard back from the clients.
He's not as honest as me, guys. That's really what it comes down to. I share it to you hot, heavy, right on the spot.
And that has gotten you in trouble in the past. So
it's the trouble I'm willing to get into for my listeners.
Yeah. It's not the trouble I'm willing to get into because I was afraid of my business imploding. But yeah, once we heard back from the clients and a little follow up to that, I'd said they said they were just cool with just the video we'd given them. We'd also offered them an album, and I don't think I shared this last time, but they got back with us a day or two later and were like, we've talked it over, and if you guys would still be willing to give us the album like you offered, we would love that. So we are giving them an album.
And you were like, sorry, you actually like the videos, so no album.
I was like, is that all you want? Yeah, no, we're cool. Let's move on from this one. I was ready to watch my whole life explode. Implode? I don't know. One of the plodes. It was going to plode.
Did you go back since then and put something in your contract that states if you don't hear about edits, revisions, tweaks, changes, etc. within a certain time frame from said client, that the video immediately becomes de facto approved?
I'm pretty certain we have something in our contract like that already, but I will need to go back and look at it. The big thing here, though, was... So based on our contract, we had agreed to give them a 3 to 5 minute highlight video from the day, and that was all they're going to get. So technically, we never had to tell them anything went wrong. We never had to say we lost any footage. I could have just cut together a 3 to 5 minute video and given that to them, but we just felt bad about doing that because there were parts of their day that we're missing, and we're like, we want to be upfront and honest with them because we feel like the downside to being upfront and honest is they could be upset with us, and that could harm our business. The downside to not being upfront and honest and then having them call us out and be like, hey, we're actually wondering where this certain footage is from the day, and us having to be like, we lost a card, that could be potentially much, much worse than if we just, came out in advance and said, this is what happened. This is what went wrong. This is what we're willing. This is, or not what we're willing. This is what we can do to try to make it.
This is
better.
Who we are.
This is who we are. We're people who fuck up. So, is that what you wanted me to say?
Your words, not mine.
Yeah.
So, moral of the story: 5 weddings, 1 weekend, 2 photographers, 1 cup. How did it go? Did you get everything accomplished? Memory cards were saved. Triple backups were made.
As far as I know so far, triple backups have been made. Anything that hasn't already been backed up is locked away in the fire safe, still on the card, so it doesn't get screwed up.
For those of you who don't realize, the fire safe is a safe that Steve lights on fire as he it's like a sort of a mortuary of hard drive storage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I throw things in, I set it on fire, and then I seal it up and just let the smoke build in there. And then if I ever need the information, I actually just let a little bit of the smoke out, and I can decipher from the smoke what was on the hard drives.
It's called smoke data.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Have you ever heard the term smoke and mirrors?
Yeah.
That's where it comes from.
When you talk about getting all of your memories, all your footage up into the cloud, this is like an express way to get it up there. What's faster at getting into the clouds than smoke?
Vapor transfer.
Yeah. So Dustin, we should do a little bit of beer talk. What you drinking tonight? I heard you crack one open.
Steven, I'm so glad you asked. I happen to have gone to the grocery store this evening, and so I'm trying so hard to jump on this runaway train that is the, dare I call it, seltzer train, or
non-beer train, if you will. Non-beer fizzy alcoholic beverage train.
Yes. To the point where there's more of that on the shelves at the store than there is beer. The beer is getting pushed further and further down, and more beer manufacturers are coming out with their own version of said non-beer drink. And so
dude, my favorite brewery, Scarlet Lane, they're putting out a seltzer. Yeah, just heard about it.
They're coming. So I saw this one at the store tonight, and I thought this one I could be interested in. So I was looking for an Oktoberfest type beer, and instead I came home with this little ditty. This is called the Social Club Seltzer, and it is a old fashioned mixed with seltzer.
That sounds like an abomination of the old-fashioned.
So it's a...
But hey, people put cherries in old-fashioned, so do whatever you want, bud.
Yeah. So I got this mainly because I don't typically drink at weddings, just because I feel like I shouldn't, and because I don't need to. And last night, the wedding I photographed had 2 incredible signature cocktails, one for the bride, one for the groom, that they themselves had handcrafted with the bartender. And one was the groom's take on an old fashioned, and the other one was the bride's take on a tequila margarita lemonade type concoction. And holy cow, they were both amazing.
Mm-hmm. What was in the old fashioned, buddy? Light up my life.
So it wasn't any bourbon to write home about. It was just Makers, because obviously you got to keep the cost down for guests and such. But it was Makers, just your traditional old fashioned ingredients. But then they added muddled cherries.
Yeah,
I don't know if I'm saying that correctly.
You do muddled cherries and old fashions if you bastardize them.
Yes.
Please continue.
But it was like a certain kind of cherry. It was I'm not sure.
It's like they put it in
no, I mean, but it was like a brand of it was cherries that had been soaked in bourbon or something like that, and then the bartender put it in the glass with an orange slice.
Gosh,
bitters,
I hate everything. Oh my gosh, I hate everything about this.
Simple syrup, and then kind of mushed it all together. Then he poured in the bourbon.
Oh wait, I like that part of it. I like that part. And the bitters, the simple syrup, the bourbon, I get behind all that.
And then a couple ice cubes, and you're good to go.
Yeah, I can get behind the ice cubes too. Those belong in an old fashioned.
But it was tasty. I mean, for a wedding drink, it was.
If you wanted a fruit drink, there you go.
Yeah, and you know me, fruity tooty.
Jen and I shot a wedding this year where they had a signature drink that was an old fashioned, but it was made with rye, not with bourbon, and which is acceptable, I've been told, for an old fashioned. I don't drink them with rye. But this one had rye, and it didn't have like fruit in it, but it had like an orange peel curled up on the side. Yeah.
So a side of fruit.
It was like a zest. It was like an orange zest, but it was like long enough zest it could like curl up on itself, and then it was like on like I think a toothpick or something on the side, and then it had like a little bit of like an orange flavor to it. So I think they must have got some zest in it or something, but it was as close as you could get to an old fashioned without it being an old fashioned, in my opinion. And it's pretty good, you know. I'm not gonna lie. Anything with rye, whiskey, bourbon, whiskey, you know, I like it all. It's all good. Rye whiskey is my least favorite of the whiskeys, but it's okay.
I had an old fashioned at a wedding earlier in the year that had it was their signature drink, and it had Crown in it, which is the first time I'd ever had an old fashioned with Crown.
Yeah, that's odd. That's a real sweet whiskey. So
yeah, which was right up my alley.
Yeah, I'm sure it was.
Super delicious.
No, Crown's great if you're looking for something sweet, man.
Always looking for something sweet, Steve. Speaking of sweet, Steve, what are you drinking tonight? Elijah Craig, straight from the bottle.
No, there's a little Coke in there.
In the bottle?
In the glass, not in the bottle. Come on. What?
Like, I just typically drink half the bottle straight. Then I mix just a teaspoon of Coke, and then the rest of it's just
I went out to a restaurant on my way home from my mom's, and by went out I mean went through a drive-through, and all they had was like soda products and lemonade, and I was like, I don't want any of this, so I guess I'll get a Coke because I could mix that with some whiskey when I get home. That's my life now.
So
because if I just drink Coke like after 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I know I'm gonna be up till like 4 in the morning.
Really?
That's how old I am now. Like, the caffeine takes a toll on this body. So I gotta mix it. Gotta mix it with the alcohol. Well, you know, taking a nap in the middle of the day at my mom's house probably not gonna help me fall asleep tonight. Oh. What can you do? What can you do? Except for maybe move on to some topics. Dustin.
Topics.
Yeah, let's do some topics.
Let's do it.
Justin, did you want to talk to me about anything in particular? Maybe.
Yes, I wanted to talk to you about the movie Tenet. So I went and saw it.
Nope. You were supposed to watch that with me.
Yeah, and you said you didn't want to go.
I said I didn't want to go when you were going to be in Indy. You could have invited me to Fort Wayne. Why didn't you invite me to Fort Wayne?
The idea of inviting you to Fort Wayne, I feel like I would already hear the answer in my head. Yeah, I was like, do I look like I have a vehicle that drives on mud roads?
Do I want to take a trip to the landfill?
Do they even take my money up there?
Yeah, all good reasons. No, I have Sony stuff in our topic list today. I thought for certain you would want to talk about the Sony stuff. No?
I mean, we can. It's already perfect. So don't really know what else that they could come out with or improve
upon. How about
upon,
this
such as the Sony 12 to 24 millimeter f2.8 that dropped after I already bought a 14 to 24 f2.8 from Sigma. A little disappointed that Sony took so long to get that lens out. So now I got to sell my Sigma.
You're gonna sell the Sigma? That's just how it is.
I don't know. We'll see.
I thought you'd want to talk about the Sony A to E mount adapter with built-in autofocus motor, because the A mount lenses didn't have autofocus motors to begin with. That doesn't interest you at all? You can get some old A mount glass for cheap.
What that exactly means.
It means they have A mount lenses for the A mount and lenses for the E mount, and one of them doesn't have an autofocus motor.
Yeah, which ones
this
don't
has
have
a
the
built-in
autofocus?
the A mount, I believe, right?
The picture that is in this article that you put in here shows a lens that I own. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure that lens has autofocus.
Yes. Yes, it shows the Carl Zeiss, what is it? The 35 or something? I don't know.
No, I think it's their Zeiss 50.
Yes.
But yeah.
Okay, so it's A mount to E mount adapter that promises E mount autofocus. I had it backwards.
Got it.
Or wait, E mount autofocus in burst shooting performance when using Sony's older A mount glass. I had it forwards and then I got it backwards and reading it off again because I doubted myself. Let that be a lesson to everybody listening. Never doubt yourself. Never Google anything. Always go with your first instinct, no matter how insane it seems. Oh, okay. You didn't want to talk about the new Sony Cinema line that was announced?
No, I saw that, but
we're just going to go through a list of things Dustin doesn't want to talk about. You're Mr. Gear Talk. This is all things that I thought you would be excited about.
The current Sony lenses are so good. Why do I need cinema lenses? They're going to be ungodly expensive. And
this is for Big Burrito Creative, bro. Big Burrito Creative's got to get into the higher end stuff.
Big Burrito Creative will just use Luke's Black Magic stuff.
That's Luke McBride Creative. Little Burrito Creative? What does he call his company?
Tiny Taco. Unscripted Visual is Luke McBride, longtime listener of the show's video company.
So the Sony Cinema line is actually, they have briefly shown an upcoming camera of theirs, the FX6 camera. It'll be the first new product to be part of the Cinema line, and Sony claims it will start shipping in 2020.
Yeah, I assume they would have to come out with something to compete with their new A7S III.
Mm-hmm.
So that way they could be like, oh, no, really, we do have real video cameras.
Kind of like how Canon's like, oh, shoot, we just announced this R5. I guess it overheats real fast, so you can still buy our cinema cameras.
Yeah. For those who
still
want
have a
to
reason
shoot
for those
all day.
So the whole thing with that was always that it was supposed to be something like in Europe, there's some law that like if a camera shoots video for over 35 minutes, it's technically a video camera and not a photo camera. And so then at that point it's in a different tax bracket, which is taxed more heavily or highly. And so that's why like the early cameras could only shoot for like such a short amount of time. And it started out they could only shoot for like 15 minutes or something like that because that was originally like the cutoff, and then it got bumped up to 30 or 35 or whatever. Laws suck. Taxes suck, you know? Why don't we just get rid of those things? You know?
So what are these cinema lenses? I'm trying to like find them in this article, and then I'm going to the link.
I never said cinema lenses. I said cinema line.
I thought it was a line of cinema lenses.
It's saying there will be more than the FX9. Now there's going to be the FX6 as well, and then there's going to be another camera because they have 3 in the picture. So there's 3 cameras that are coming out or 2 new cameras for their cinema line.
Cool.
You don't read anything that I post.
I'm a visual person, Steve. I look for pictures. I saw no pictures of lenses. I assume no lenses exist. Ipso facto, no cinema lenses. What's Google doing? What's Google Pictures doing launching filter things?
As far as Google goes, there's like 2 things of interest for photographers. Well, photographers is shit on Canon cameras. There's 2 things of interest. For non-Canon shooters, it's just 1 thing of interest. So Canon cameras can now back up straight to Google Photos. This is like for their newer cameras that have like built-in Wi-Fi and stuff. There's now like a way that you can just have your camera automatically back up all your photos to your Google Photos. So this would be like if you're shooting with JPEG or if you're shooting with RAW and you pay to have your photos backed up to Google Photos and like the what's it called? Full resolution. So with Google Photos, you can back up all of your photos, but it doesn't back them up in full resolution. It backs them up in like a smaller resolution than what you sent them to Google with. But if you pay money for like Google Drive or whatever, you can say, hey, fill my 2 terabytes up with just my photos from my iPhone or my Canon cameras or whatever. So you can just back straight up to your Google Photos with like raw photos from weddings, I guess. I don't know why you'd want to do that, but I mean, you can only go up to 2 terabytes of storage. So that's going to fill up real fast if you're doing it with weddings with raw photos. That with the newer Canon cameras, they're shooting like 42 megapixels, right? It's ridiculous shit like that. So yeah, that'd be full in like a day, one or two weddings.
Yep.
Being a little bit facetious, but the news about from Google for all photographers is Google Pictures, which is like a Google image search online where you can just like look up pictures and stuff, is launching a new licensable badge and filter. So there's something you can do now when you upload a photo that Google indexes where you can say, this is a photo that can be licensed. So then people know they can pay you money to license your photo. And then there's going to be a filter in the search so they can search for only licensable photos.
Wow. Maybe so Facebook will take notes and add something like this into Instagram.
Maybe Facebook will take notes and add something like this into one of their 2 different social media things, Facebook and Instagram, which both only allow you to upload photos at like 1,500, like web size images only.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're not giving away high resolution images there. You're all good. Don't worry about it. Right?
I'm good with selling low res images, man. Whatever.
How are people downloading your photos at like high resolution from Instagram?
Screenshotting it on a 5K cinema display.
You just gotta make your account private, right? Who's screenshotting Instagram photos?
I know people do it. I had a bride. People do it. I had a bride yesterday ask me, just want to be clear before we book with you, the photos we get don't have your name on them, do they? Like I see on your website. And by website, she's referring to our client proofing site that we use, Zenfolio, to proof, like send all our galleries to our clients, which has a watermark. And the reason we have the watermark on there is because so many people screenshot it and share it to Facebook. And I'm like, hell, if they're going to screenshot it and they don't care about the quality, might as well get some PR out of it.
Some bad PR. These are what blurry, shitty photos look like, Dustin McKibben style.
Yeah. But everybody's got them. And so now
you want that blurry DMAC or you didn't get it? Your wedding wasn't captured if you don't have a blurry DMAC in there.
But yeah, she understood. I had to explain to her the reason we do that is because so many people nowadays are very impatient and just want a screenshot. And I want to take advantage of your impatientness by making you share my logo.
Yeah, very nice. I love it.
She was cool with it. She was cool with it.
She was like, don't worry, I will share your blurry ass logo. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. I said if you don't want to, you can wait for your USB drive.
So Dustin, did you want to talk about this Fuji film? They got fast glass. Fuji Fast Glass. Yeah.
Fuji Fast Glass. FFG lens.
Yeah. No, they're putting out a 50 millimeter f1.0 lens. It's the fastest Fuji lens ever made.
Except Fuji's not full frame, so f1.0 is like 2.0.
In terms of what the bokeh looks like, yes. In terms of how much light it gathers, no. Do we care about light? That's why God invented ISO. True. I mean, why would you even need that? Sony cameras can go up to like 8 million ISO, right?
At my reception on Sunday, which was outdoors, and I was starting to get really nervous when I was watching the sunset and realized we're going to do the first dance in the dark. And I popped up a video light next to the DJ's lights, and I was just like, hey, thank you for Sony ISO. I was like, ISO 5,000, and it looked perfect.
Dustin, I didn't even tell you about this yet.
I second shot a wedding this summer. And they wanted to get married back in the woods at like their friend's house, right? So it's like back in the woods, full tree coverage overhead. When it's sunny out, it looks gorgeous. There's like little rays of light coming through. Beautiful, just magnificent. They took all these string lights, strung them up all over the place. They had like a string light curtain that they were walking through on their way down the aisle. Just magnificent, utterly magnificent, right? Wedding day rolls around, giant storm blows through. Giant storm. They have to push the ceremony back an hour so that the storm will pass and they can still get married outside. Go back to the ceremony location. Big mud pit, mud everywhere.
Perfect.
Still going forward with it.
Love it. Yes. Yeah.
Still going forward with it. Got the string lights all on. Go back there. Me and the person I was shooting for look at the area. Pull out our cameras. We both have like a f1.4 like lenses on, 50 millimeter. I have my 85 f1.2 with me as well. Crank that ISO up to like 6400. Still barely getting anything at all. So we have to set up like external flashes and flash continuously throughout the entire ceremony just to get anything usable. And it's so dark. We're both shooting with 5D Mark IVs. So dark, the 5D Mark IVs can't focus without having like a flash on with the IR, but we don't want to blast IR like all throughout the ceremony at them. So I take to throughout the entire ceremony, switching over to live mode, so I can just like see on the back of the camera what it is, zooming in and focusing manually, turning live mode off, because with live mode on, the flashes won't fire for some reason. So I have to turn live mode off and then fire and just hope I kept my hands pretty freaking steady, because if I didn't keep them pretty steady, we're not going to get a picture that's in focus, because we're at like f1.4 the entire time because it's so freaking dark. Oh, it was maybe one of the most challenging shoots I've ever done in my entire life.
That's why I always bring a video light.
Yes, but I was just hired to come and shoot photos, so I didn't bring video lights. I just brought my flash equipment. And also, even if I had brought a video light, like, what am I going to do? Shine a video light on the stage the entire ceremony?
Yes.
Actually, the guests probably would have been like super happy.
They'd be like, oh, we can see now. This is great. Thank you, photographer, for saving the day. Then the photographer that hired you would have been like, oh my God, Steve, you're amazing for bringing a fucking video light.
You've set up a video light on at the ceremony when it was that dark. It was like ceremony. I'm gonna blast them with a video light. You would or 100%. You have. You would or you have.
Absolutely, I have.
No. I want to know names. I want to know dates. I want to be able to follow up with this bride and this groom to see if this is a true story. Don't give me this Dustin McKibben bullshit, cowboy. I went in and just did the thing.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, I did the thing. No, I remember we shot a wedding at a barn, and they were going to have the doors behind them open because they thought, oh, it'd be so cool to, like, the bride was going to pull up in a Mustang and, like, walk in and, like, into the barn and be, like, super backlit. And so I had to make the decision then and there, like, 15 minutes before the ceremony, I'm going to light the shit out of this stage. I'm going to just blast it with light, just so I can pull in some semblance of detail from that background. Mm-hmm. Because up until right before the wedding started, I was thinking like, oh, I've got, a pretty decent exposure in here, assuming they keep these barn doors closed and just have the front ones where like the bridal party's walking in, but like in traditional barn style, like there's doors on either side. And so they're like, oh, yeah, we're going to open the other doors when the bride comes because she's coming in her dad's, like, vintage car. And then we're just going to leave it open.
We're going to drive the car into the barn.
Yeah,
just
welcome to Indiana.
Through a bunch of the gas.
Actually, this wedding was in New York. But yeah, totally. I light ceremonies all the time. But, like, this weekend, the videographer I worked with doesn't bring lights. She's sort of like a natural
Oh gosh.
And which is fine, more power to her. But I'm like, I don't want to use flash because you're doing video, so I'm gonna throw a video light up for the dancing because I personally prefer video light to flash with the Sony system. And she was like,
"What are you? You're barely even a photographer anymore. I prefer video light to flash. What? Where am I right now? Is this?
Welcome to the Twilight.
Is this a thing? Who am I talking to?
I would say this. I'm
just so confused. I'm so confused. A video killed the photo star? Is that anything? Did we just make a song? Did we just
No, but I am rethinking the yellow sweatshirt color. I think I should have gone with the navy.
I feel so confused right now in this moment.
It is a good moment, though. But let's move past this moment into the next for the listener's sake.
Yeah. Let's do it. Move us into that next moment. Come on.
I can't tell you how many videographers thank me for shooting video light versus flash.
Yeah, baby.
Especially when it comes to like the sunset portrait stuff that I do, where I try to do that epic nighttime photo, dusk photo. And the videographer's like, "Oh, I can actually get this guy too because you were thoughtful enough to use video light instead of flash."
Yeah, those videographers, they just love Dustin McKibben so much.
Can't say the same when the roles
He's
are reversed.
He's the best photographer in the whole world. Oh, I love Dustin McKibben.
Yeah, I know. I'm still waiting for your review on my Facebook page.
Dustin McKibben was hard as hell to work with. Absolute shit. Kept running in front of me with a damn gimbal on a 35
was Big Burrito
millimeter.
Creative. Don't be confused. Two different companies, Steven.
Sorry. Did you just create Big Burrito Creative because you knew you would do a lot of terrible things to photographers?
100%.
You're like, I don't want that reflecting on my photography business.
Yes, because I went into the video business thinking I hate photographers. So I'm like, I'm going to do video the way I want to do video. And
you didn't go into the video business thinking to yourself, I hate videographers, so I'm going to do video the way they do to get back at photography. I don't know. I felt like I had something and then I lost it.
It was twofold. It was, I feel like videographers are lazy. And don't really do much. And so I felt like I could do better. And secondly, I felt like photographers were getting lazy as well. And I felt like I could just do it all.
I this weekend had a glaring revelation about my own life as a videographer / photographer. So the first wedding that I shot, I did video at, and they didn't want to hire me and like a second shooter, like all my packages include. It was too expensive. So we did a deal. We just cut out the second shooter and I shot it alone, video alone. So I'm running around like a chicken with my head cut off.
Video.
Yeah. Running around like a chicken with my head cut off. Got made fun of several times by our second shooter, Kenton, because I looked so funny and so crazy and so worried, and I seemed so stressed out the entire time. It's great. It's great.
That's why I don't offer a video package without a second shooter.
So I'm like setting up cameras, getting ready to go right before the ceremony, and I'm like cutting it close, man. I'm like right before she's about to walk down the aisle. I've got like a camera in the back and a tripod, a camera off to the side and a tripod. I've got like my camera on a monopod. I've got my audio recorder set up. And I'm like running around hitting like record on everything, making sure everything's in focus. Everything looks great, you know.
You got the drone hovering overhead.
Oh, no. No drones. It was way too windy. But I did bring the drone just in case, but didn't end up using it. Too windy. Sorry, bud. I failed you. I know.
It's windy at my wedding too, Steve, but I still flew.
But so that's me at that first wedding, getting laughed at and made fun of by my second shooter because of how crazy and frantic I look. Go to the next night. I leave that wedding thinking, I don't know what that guy was talking about. I looked like a freaking professional. Always keeping it together, always keeping it professional. Next day, wedding I'm shooting, I'm not hired to do video. They have a videographer who comes in, is setting up, is literally literally running around from camera to camera, like making sure things are recording in focus. As soon as the ceremony's done, my second shooter at that wedding comes up to me and he's like, "Oh man, did you get a load of that videographer? He's just running around like a chicken with his head cut off." I'm just like, "Oh gosh, that is what I looked like, isn't it?" And it's just like this moment of like my darkest, deepest like fears all being realized, and I was like,
your insecurities.
I'm that person that everybody's making fun of. That's me.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it wasn't, preying on my inner anxieties at all. It didn't make me feel incredibly self-conscious at all. No.
So what I've realized from the vast number of weddings I've done, and working with the run and gun one-man band videographers, is the only way that you can do that without sort of that crazy feeling of chicken with his head cut off, as you so elegantly put it, is by caring very little about what the ceremony looks like. Meaning you're not delivering a full ceremony.
I wasn't delivering a full ceremony, but I wanted it recorded anyway.
Exactly. So typically, like the videographers I'm working with that I've seen, they have one camera set up either 45 off to the side that they move into the center after the ceremony begins, and it's just a wide, safe shot, and then they're just like pegging shots with a monopod during the ceremony, or on a gimbal.
Who's doing the pegging? Who's getting pegged? Let me hear
typically
it.
Both bride and groom.
Okay. Yeah.
Getting all the shots off on them.
Getting off on them. Got it.
This is surprisingly not bad. It's kind of growing on me here.
Oh gosh, I'm out of my drink. Give me a second. I'll be right back. It's
actually 7% alcohol per volume. But it's only 3 carbs for those of you out there dieting like I am. But I'm pretty sure that there isn't actually any bourbon in this.
Oh, sorry. I know longtime fans know I love to keep it professional, one drink or less per episode. But it was a rough weekend, and I could really use this Munsterfest from Three Floyds right about now. Ice cold and delicious.
Only way to have it.
It's an Oktoberfest style lager.
Yep.
Where were we?
I think we were beating the videographer horse into the ground. Let's move on. Yeah. Skylum AI looks to take...
You just wanted to brush right over the full frame rumor from Canon about a sub $999 camera coming out next year.
Yep, I saw Canon. I was like, not important.
It's going to be less than $1,000, and it's going to be full frame. But you know what I bet it doesn't have? Two card slots.
Yeah, that's why I figured it wasn't worth talking about in the world of Van Elk. What if it came out and it had 3 card slots? What if that was like Canon's FU to you, Steve? They're like,
it has 3
guys. We're going to put 3 card slots in. One for photo, one for video, and one just for shits and giggles. It's going to be like a firmware update card slot. We're going to mail you your firmware updates via SD card.
Even better, Dustin. It has 3 card slots, but none of them are SD card slots. It's a CF Express, an SD Express, and an XQD. They're just like, fuck you all.
They just go back to CF cards. They're like, I figured you've got the sub $1,000 range. Probably have a lot of these laying around. So we thought, let's go retro. It's like Polaroids.
They're like, well, it's only $999. So we actually made a special deal with Pro Photo, and you can only use their flashes on this.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, that would be great. I would love every minute of some sort of like weird, card slot situation.
It'd be so great, sticking it right in.
made some weird deal where we're only going to do manual focus lenses on this Canon. We just thought we really want to get back to the art. This is going to be called our art line. Sorry, Sigma. It's our art line of cameras where it's all manual focus lenses.
It's a full frame camera coming out next year, but after seeing the reaction people had to the R5 overheating scandal, we decided to make it so when you shoot in 4K or 8K with this one, it does not use the full sensor. It only uses about a quarter of the sensor now when you're shooting video.
The rest of the sensor actually metamorphoses into a fan to cool the rest of it down.
We found a way to make the entire sensor out of copper, so it actually doubles as a heat sink.
Yes. No, I love it when you see those back of the camera, like adapter attachments that have like fans in them. I'm like, if you need that, there's probably a better way or a better camera out there for your needs.
Yeah. Yeah, and then if you thought you needed that for the R5, and then you found out, no, it's just some weird firmware thing, and they've already issued a fix for it, and the fix makes it a better, but still not completely and totally usable because it still doesn't seem to be anything about the temperature, but more about the card or something weird like that. And then you're like, so why am I using this camera when I could have just got an R6 anyway with SD card slots?
Yep, should have went Sony.
Just me.
Should have went Sony. That's what you're saying.
Oh, I would love to go Sony, honestly, though. You know, if you got a hookup, just let me know.
Oh,
if you know someone who will trade me all of my Canon bodies and lenses straight up for their equivalent in the Sony world.
I broke pretty.
No money exchanges hands. I just want to straight up just trade every single one of my camera bodies and camera lenses, all my flashes, everything for the Sony equivalents. No money exchanges hands.
Well, if you have dual flashes, so you should be okay there.
I have 3 Canon flashes. I have 3 Canon flashes. Don't give this to me.
But no, I broke pretty close to even when I sold all my Nikon gear. What really screwed me over was the fact that I own a D4. So you don't own any pro body Canon, so you might skate by, but like the pro stuff just does not hold its value when it's like on to the next generation already.
Yeah, because my 5D Mark IV has held its value so well.
Hey, you'd be surprised.
And my 5D Mark IIIs that have both had their, the little thing on top, so you can switch from like manual to bulb to like P mode to AV mode, all that stuff.
I only shoot manual, so I don't know what any of those is.
I know. Yeah, and we always leave ours in manual too. But like the little
master mode,
the little ring that has like all the stuff on it, popped off. So now if you get it out of manual mode, it's just like, I guess I just keep turning it until I get it back in manual mode. And I mean, it's pretty easy because bulb mode is right next to manual mode. So if you get it to bulb, I'm 1 click away from manual. But I had that app where it got knocked over to, I think it was P mode the other day. And I was like, what the hell is going on?
P for pro.
Yeah. P for pro, but not this pro.
Nope. No, so this past week, Sony segue, I was in Indianapolis shooting a photo shoot session, and I thought, what better time than to get all of my camera equipment cleaned at the good folks at Roberts Camera in Indianapolis. So my original plan was stop in. Oh, yeah. Also met you.
The night you gave me the sweatshirt.
Yes. Had birthday drinks with Stephen Van Elk. If you ever see or hear of him, shout out. But I stopped at Roberts, and my plan was, because they told me it'd take about an hour and a half to clean all my stuff since I have so much, and dropped it all off. And they're like, hey, while you're here, if you want, we actually have the Sony rep here to show off the new A7S III. And the like A9 II, because apparently they don't have one of those in the store. And I was like, oh, twist my arm. So I went over and I was jibber jabbering with the Sony rep for about an hour, and kind of felt like I knew more than him. It was sort of a weird vibe where, kind of, not to talk poorly about Sony, but it seems like they kind of like pick these reps and just send them around the country because they're like Sony fanboys. But maybe does that make me a bigger Sony fanboy? I guess what I'm saying is, Sony, if you want to send me pre-release cameras and send me around the country, like, I will know more about it than this guy.
Will you though? I feel like what you're really doing right now is
I will
tanking your ability to ever be made into a Sony rep. I feel like that's what you're really doing right now. What you're doing is you're like, hey, Sony, would you like to send me around the country to represent you? Because currently you're shit.
Yeah. Hey, I'll always be honest, Steve. But I guess back to our earlier discussion about flash versus video. Like, I was talking to him about that, and I was sadly disappointed because he did not have a solution for my problem. And my problem is, for those of you out there who shoot Sony, you get so spoiled with this mirrorless phenomenon where what you see is what you get when you're shooting without a flash. And what that means is, like, what comes through the electronic viewfinder or the back of the camera is literally like pretty close to what your end result photo is going to look like as a raw file, because it's representing the depth of field and the shutter speed and the ISO in real time, which is something we're not used to in the days of traditional DSLRs. And so we've been spoiled. So now you put a flash on the top of the camera, and it's like all of that goes out the window. Sony's now like, okay, we're going to slap your viewfinder into some sort of like an auto mode where we think this will give you like an idea of what things look like, but it has no representation of what your settings are on the camera, which is all, good and dandy. But if you've been shooting without a flash all day and you've gotten used to that, and then you put a flash on, and then you're like, oh shit, I can't trust what I'm seeing anymore. I have to actually like think about it as if I was shooting on a DSLR and this was just like auto, like looking through a mirror.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked him if there was any way to turn that off, and he was not aware that that was a problem, because he's like, yeah, most of our Sony shooters really don't shoot flash because the ISO performance is just so amazing. I was like, yeah, but some of us still do. Especially here in Indiana, where we're not shooting like our receptions all outside in beautiful, places. Some of them are in like white boxes or barns that are pitch black. And so he was like, yeah, I've never had anyone like ask anything about flash before. To be honest, I really don't know much about flash. And I'm like, well, great. You're the perfect person to ask this to. And then he like spent 30 minutes like digging through the menus, and I like actually grabbed a flash off the shelf at Roberts and like threw it on the camera so he could fully understand what I was asking. And he's like, oh, that is weird. You're right. It like, all of the manual settings that you would normally see are like gone. And I'm like, yeah, exactly. That's what I want fixed. And he's like, oh, okay. Well, I'll put something in the suggestion box. I was like, oh, well, great. But yeah, sorry, that was my rant. I really, really want that fixed. And if anyone out there is listening and has figured a workaround, I've not, and I would love something. So far, the only workaround I've found is using non-Sony brand flashes and transmitters.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So now that I'm done just completely and totally zoning out everything you said because it's all about Sony and who cares, might as well talk about Panasonic or Leica. I don't know.
Yeah, Lumix just released a new camera this week that looks pretty exciting. SS or S or 5S or something like that.
Is it their new full frame one or whatever?
Full frame, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk about something that excites me to my very core.
Skylum?
Skylum AI, or as I like to call it, they took our jobs.
Yeah, I don't understand that, but continue.
Give me a they took our jobs.
They took all jobs?
They took our jobs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gotta get more redneck with it. Come on, let's go.
By golly, they're coming for our job, Susie.
Skylum AI has put out a new. They pre-announced a new Luminar. It's called Luminar AI, and it's a fully automated AI-first photo editor. Dustin, did you happen to click through on this one at least? Get a little taste of it.
So I actually use Luminar 4.
I know you do.
And so I got their email where they, as Steve likes to say, they pre-ejaculated this announcement onto us.
Just it right over you.
Really give us the feel for it.
Mm-hmm.
And
you were like,
their email was so vague.
Luminar, shoot your big load all over my face. And they were like, here you go, Luminar AI, it's our big load.
Here's your soon-to-be firmware update as we shoot it on over to you.
To your face.
But I didn't really understand you're all about the face editing. I feel like my faces normally look pretty good when I take pictures. Must be a Sony thing.
Must be.
But I didn't understand exactly what the difference was from current Luminar 4 to this new AI take over the world. Terminator comes out of my computer, slaps me in the face, and just says, "Let me edit for you."
Well, let me tell you, Dustin, when you bring in a photo to the new Luminar AI, instead of having like the normal Luminar like stuff where you could adjust, I don't know, whatever the shit you could adjust in that.
Like Lightroom, there's modules and sliders and all that good stuff.
Now it's just like, is this like portrait? Is this essentials? Is this whatever? You click on one of those and it's like, what do you want to do to the skin? How much amount wise? Do you want to do like shine removal? And you just have sliders for the amount of like skin retouching and shine removal you want to do. And that's it. And the machines, they do it all for you. You're not going through removing blemish by blemish.
Ghost in the machine.
You're just like, oh, let me slide it till it looks good. And then you're done. You do it with the skin, with the body, with the structure, with the color, all that stuff. You can do it for the landscapers too.
That's what I use it for.
Mm-hmm. For the landscapers,
I use it for my real estate for
sky replacements.
Yep. I use it for my sky swapping.
Yeah, so supposedly they have like a new stuff built into this one where it'll look through your library of photos of the sky and it'll suggest photos to you, and then it'll also edit the photo to match the sky that you want to use, color-wise and everything.
So currently it already does something like that, and I always turn that feature off. Because it typically gives your photo a very blue cast, because I use very blue skies. So it's AI is like, oh, you're adding blue. We must cast it all in blue. And I'm like, nope.
Yes. Have you ever tried like playing around with the amount and with the boost on that? Because you can do that now. If you can.
I do not. I'm a very simple man with very simple needs. And I'm just like, I'm in this program for one thing and one thing alone. And that's to add a sky. Every now and then I'll get a little bit crazy and I'll be like, let's add a fake sun. And then sometimes I'm like, we added the sun, let's go for some rays. And then I'm like, nope, that looks awful.
So basically, yeah, the new Skylum is just like, hey, all that cool stuff we were doing already that basically most people I know who were using it for what you were, sky swaps. That's the biggest thing I knew people were using Luminar 4 for.
Very easy.
And Luminar AI is like, hey, what if people could just use Luminar for everything and not have to worry about editing anymore? No more Photoshop. No more Photoshop, Dustin. Get rid of Photoshop.
What I love about Luminar, and Luminar, if you're listening out there, thank you so much for sponsoring this episode, is the fact that they weren't listening to everyone about like, oh, we need a Lightroom replacement, a Lightroom competitor, which they could be. You can use it as a standalone piece of software, but you can also use it as a Lightroom plugin, which is what I use it for. So within Lightroom, you can send a photo into Luminar and then it saves back into Lightroom, which I love.
That's not a plugin.
There's a plugin of Luminar that sort of is a bridge
that lets you do that. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So they have a plugin, but what you described was not a plugin. What you described is just sending out to another program and then sending it back.
Yes, but there could be this like, oh, I've got to export it out of Lightroom, and then I've got to open it in Luminar, and then I got to put it back into Lightroom and make sure it syncs with my other photos. But instead, you can just right-click on the photo, and you can click Edit in Luminar, and then you can edit it, and then click
That's the
Apply.
one thing.
And it goes back in.
Yes. Are you done talking yet? The one thing I didn't see with Lightroom is the ability to just say, I want to bring in these 20, 35 photos. I'm going to have you say what I want for the very first one, apply the exact same stuff to the rest, batch editing, which is what I would want.
So
but
supposedly
I don't see anything talking about batching.
Yeah, so if you are inside a Luminar and you go up to the top, under one of the menus, there is a batch edit module. I have not played around with it yet because I was too afraid if I add one sky to a photo, and it's how their sky sort of thing works, it's very positional. So what makes it so great is it actually makes a AI guesstimate on where the horizon line is, and then that's where the clouds go, and it does that on every single photo. So I was afraid if I batched it, it would be like trying to set that sky in the same spot in every photo versus using that AI functionality.
So you were afraid that would happen, so you didn't even try it, as opposed to just trying
I just discovered this. Right. Well, I just discovered this when I was moving everything over to my new computer, because I was trying to figure out where the hell my serial code was for the program, and going through all the menus, because Skylum does not make it easy to move it from computer to computer.
You just got to buy a new one.
But
every time you get a new computer, you got to buy a new program, right? Buy the program again. I don't know.
That's what they want. They want you to be like, God, this is so difficult. It's only $89. I'll just buy it again.
All right, bud. Let's do some Q&A.
Let's do some Q&A.
But Steve. Lacey from a random Facebook group asked, what would you do? I was asked to second shoot groomsmen and details today from 123. Photographer contacted me Thursday and gave me times and payment amount. Yesterday, I messaged and asked where the exact location was. She saw the message but didn't respond. Today, I messaged again an hour and a half before I needed to drive 45 minutes to the wedding to get a location, since she still hasn't responded. I hate not being the photog to not show up, but I'm supposed to leave in 10 minutes and I still have no address. At this point, I'm assuming she no longer needs my services. But if I'm honest, it's a little disheartening that she doesn't have enough respect for my time to at least tell me that she doesn't. I am a single mom and photography supplements my income. $150 may not be a lot to some people, but that's groceries for a week for my kid and I. So would you head to the general area and contact her again, or just leave it alone? Edited to add, I called and no answer left. Left a voicemail. Then I messaged again stating that I can't rightfully drive with no location.
What would you do? What would you do if your photog was not at home? I don't know. I was gonna try to do some like TLC or something. I couldn't make it happen. Oh, what would you do? 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 What could you do? How would you do it? I gotta say, if I had to guess,
don't guess, just know.
I would say that the reason you probably haven't heard back is because they asked you to be there for 2 hours. And you were going to get paid $150, and they were like, ooh, do I want to pay $75 an hour for a second shooter just to do groomsmen and details? And they decided no. And then they ghosted you because they didn't know how to say that politely. They had gone behind your back, found somebody else. I would not I would definitely not get in my car and drive to the area just to be certain, because you're just going to waste gas. You said, Lacey, you're a single mom. You're wasting gas. You're paying for a babysitter to watch your kid while you're gone. That time could be much better spent. I don't know, getting like a mani-pedi or something. Oh wait, COVID. That kind of time could be better spent taking a walk in a park alone with a mask on.
Donating blood.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's a good one.
I know, man. I'm all about, helping others.
Yeah. I can't think of a better way to get a free cookie, so.
Or what you could do, Lacey, is you could drive to that location where the wedding was going to be, but not bring a camera.
She doesn't have an address.
I know. Just drive to that general area and then just start knocking on doors. You said you need those groceries, Lacey. And you just say, knock, knock, knock. Hey, I'm looking for a groom and a groomsman. Anyone here? And then you just keep on knocking.
You know what? You could probably make more money, Lacey. Just drive to that general area, knock on doors.
Start Ubering.
Just knock on doors and be like, "Hi, I am a single mom. I'm a hungry single mom and a photographer. I was supposed to do a photo shoot for some groomsmen today, and I got canceled on the last second. So I got to pay my babysitter. I'm just trying to make some money. So, do you guys need any portraits
or anything?
That's oh my gosh, that's gonna end so bad. Okay, Lacey, let's we're gonna reel this one back. Oh, did you say hangry? Oh, I just gave really bad advice for. Okay, Lacey. You could probably make more money if you just do this one really, really terrible thing, which kind of falls in line with what we were saying before, and just get that pedicure done and set up a camera and take some photos of your own feet and then post them on an OnlyFans, right?
Are you into that kind of thing, Steve? Steve, are you into that kind of thing?
No.
It's okay. This is a safe place. Only you and I are here. About 10,000 other people.
I read something in a Facebook group the other day that was some girl got a message sent to her, and they were just like, "Hey, I know you're a photographer. I just have a real simple request. I wanted to know if you'd work with me on a creative project." And she was like, yeah, sure. I would love to work with you on a creative project. Just what is it, and like what would the pay be? And they're like, "Oh yeah. So here's the thing. Since I know you're a photographer and you can do the photos really well, I feel like I wouldn't need to be there, because you could handle all the shooting on your own. And what I just need are some pictures of your feet. And like, if you pay, if you get the pictures done and sent to me, like, not only am I going to pay you, but I'm also going to help pay for like pedicures and nail polish too." And I was like, how fast can you close your email? How fast can you just delete your entire email and your website and just be done with life? Because you're just like,
are you kidding me? I'd be like, forward those emails to me, because I will take pictures of my feet for money all day long. Like no joke.
I just got a pedicure on my hairy hobbit feet. Who would like to see a photo of these?
Did you say macro? Like I'm all in on that. Tight, wide.
I want to make sure you can see every one of the hairs on my big toe.
In fact, let's make this a long-term project.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to shave the hair off, and then you're going to slowly watch it grow through a series of time-lapse like photographs.
Shot with my iPhone. All right, yuck. We got time for one more.
Yuck. Devin Rowland from our very own Facebook group says, "I saw a wedding photo come up in my Facebook feed today and thought something looked familiar. It's a groom whose wedding I photographed a few years ago to a different woman. I knew they divorced, but I hadn't heard that he was getting remarried. What looks so familiar about the photo, though? He's wearing the same clothes from his last wedding. So do I like the photo? Do I compliment him on the sharp duds and being able to fit into them several years plus a pandemic later?" And then she put a laughing so hard I'm crying emoji face. Dustin, what'd you do?
I think it's pretty easy, Devin. You find the photo you took originally from the last set of engagement photos, and you post it, and you say Twinning Tuesday.
Is it a Tuesday when she does this?
Yeah.
Is Twinning Tuesday a thing?
Twinning Tuesday, and then like later on in the day you like write.
Wouldn't you post it and just put like hashtag twinners?
Hashtag
twinning.
And then you say like, looks like a groom I shot once.
Is that finger guns?
Well, at this point, Devin, you have nothing to lose because it's obvious that they didn't hire you to shoot this. So why not go down in a blaze of your own humility?
Why not just comment with a photo you took of him from the last wedding and be like, I shot you better?
Who shot it best? Yeah, sort of like who wore it best.
Side by side comparison.
Yeah, who shot it best? Yeah.
Who shot it better? The pandemic photographer who was their cousin with an iPhone, or me, the professional? Who was it?
And then Devin just drop a watermark on there and then say, "Call me when you're ready to move up in the world."
Move up in the world.
Call me.
like so when he gets his next divorce and remarries again.
And wears the same outfit for a third time.
Yeah, Devin, have you considered maybe he'd been married once or twice before you shot him? And he wore the same outfit those times too. Have you considered maybe he's immortal? Maybe he's just moving through life.
I was going to say serial killer.
His fashion has never changed. Maybe he's killing these women that he keeps marrying.
Like a Black Widow male version of that. If that
a Black Widower. It's sad. Is that what you wanted to say?
Widowy.
Doesn't that sound so terrible? Like a woman who has a spouse who dies is a widow. A male who has a spouse who dies is a widower. It's almost like it's implied that the male killed their spouse. That's the widower. It sounds so close to murderer.
Well, they typically say if the spouse dies, typically the loved one did it.
Yeah. Or in this case, the person who wears the same clothes and never changes. The person who is like a portrait stuck in time in the same clothes forever. Devin, are you sure he was just wearing those on his wedding day? Maybe he always wears the same clothes every single day. Maybe it's like a Dorian Grey situation where wait, does Dorian Grey change his clothes? Does he always have to dress the same as in the painting, or how does that work? I feel like he has to dress.
Grey?
The portrait of Dorian Grey?
No.
There's a man and he has a painting of himself, and like as long as the painting stays intact, he never ages. Nothing bad ever happens to him. Like as far as like he can't like really get sick and die or like get hurt and die, because like the portrait takes all the, like the pain. So like the portrait ages, but he doesn't. Like it's like he swapped places with his own portrait basically, and but somebody I think at the end destroys the portrait and then he dies.
Is this a movie?
It's like a famous story. And it's been in like a bunch of horror movies and TV shows and stuff. How do you not know this? He's like a decadent immortal who just like runs around doing whatever the hell he wants.
He's cool. Gray was like a beer from Scarlet Lane.
Yeah, the Dorian Stout. It's named for Dorian Gray.
Thought that was just something they made up at Scarlet Lane.
That's going to do it for us this week on the Wedding Photo Hangover. Thanks for listening to another episode. If you love the show, please leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. If you want to connect, we're at Wedding Photo Hangover on Instagram. Dustin. Mommy. And is that Dustin_McKibben? And I'm at Stephen Van Elk. We have an awesome Facebook group. You should join it. Just search for Wedding Hangover. If you want more content, head over to the Patreon by going to patreon.com/WPH. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time your head is pounding, your limbs feel like dead weight, and your tired being aches for the sweet embrace of death. That's right. Next week after you shoot another wedding. Dustin, what a good Tenet. You can talk about Tenet, just don't spoil it. So all the talk you can do without spoiling for me, because I will watch it because I love Christopher Nolan, and if you spoil it, I will murder you.
So you're
or maybe I've
wait.
already murdered you because time travel. We don't know. So think about that.
So you already know the premise. Everybody
knows the premise. It's called previews.
I didn't know the premise. I went in with no premise. It's a movie by Christopher Nolan.
It's one of those? Was it shot on a camera and projected on a screen for people to watch?
There was light. There was dark.
I'm just upset you didn't watch it where he intended for you to watch it, which would be on your iPhone, of course.
Yes. Well, no, I was under the impression that it was going to be released for 3 days only, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of last week. Was that last week, I believe? And then they extended it. So I wanted to go really bad and see this movie. It was the only movie this year that I really, really wanted to see. And especially with all the hype surrounding it, because Christopher Nolan refused to let it go to a streaming service. And so I went. I saw it. I wanted to go with Steve, and Steve said no.
I would have gone with you, just not last week. It's the most stressful week of my life. We didn't have an episode come out last week because I was so stressed.
Yep.
I don't ever want to shoot a video alone at a wedding again for the rest of my life. I hated it.
Who knows? You could have shot it better having Christopher Nolan's artisticalness running through your brain.
Maybe I'll have to watch it this week because I got another video this weekend. So
there you go. It's definitely a movie you have to watch twice. It's definitely.
Have you watched it twice?
I've not watched it twice. I would gladly.
You can't say it's a movie you have to watch twice then, because you've only watched it once. 100%. Maybe you watch it a second time and you're like, nope, I actually got it all the first time through. Dun dun dun.
I mean, I think I have a good grasp on it now. But it's definitely a movie you can't go watch and then go do something that's mentally stressful or mentally exhausting, because it's definitely a movie you need to go sit in a quiet, dark place and just digest it, because it's that deep, it's that layered, it's that complicated. My wife would hate it. I'm so glad I did not take her. Because it's the best way I can explain it without ruining it is it's like reading a book, but you're not reading it in order and you're skipping chapters. But it's portrayed to you in a way like a linear story. So you have to really pay attention to keep up with the fast-paced storytelling. And try to remember things so that you can fill other things in those holes later, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Now, if I want to critique the movie on a purely cinematic nature, I thought the typical Christopher Nolan-esqueness of it was really impressive, really good. All of that was good. The acting I thought was a little okay, a little subpar in my opinion for a Christopher Nolan film, but I can be okay with it.
Okay, Dustin. Okay. That's all we got. That's all we got.
I mean, you obviously want to see it. Well, it's just
I want to see it because I love Christopher Nolan. I like all of his movies. I'm a fan.
Well, I really like John David Washington, who is the what?
I'm a fanboy.
Yeah, he's
Christopher Nolan. Fanboy.
John David Washington's like the main character, even though in a sort of racist manner he's not the highest paid actor in the movie. But that's neither here nor there. But he typically plays a more comedic character, and so his semi-comedic scenes in the movie are splendid. They're so good. They are done perfectly with just the right amount of humor. But it's hard for me to see him as like this 007-esque character.
Okay.
Sort of like seeing what's his face in Jack Ryan. When you're used to seeing him
John Krasinski?
Yeah, when you're used to seeing him play like The Office and other movies like that, and then he's
it's hard to understand that actors know how to act. I understand.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm typecasting, man, 100%.
I'm not familiar with John David Washington and what else he's done.
He is.
I see he was in Black Klansman, which I have not watched, but I heard was great.
Also a comedy.
And I don't know what else he's done. Oh, he played for the St. Louis Rams?
Yep, and he's Samuel, or not Samuel.
Oh, he's in Ballers with The Rock?
Yeah, so Ballers is what I watch him in, and
getting
I love
balled
that
by
show.
The Rock? Yeah.
He's
Nice.
Denzel Washington's son. I know that.
Oh, cool. No idea. Didn't
Big
know any of
shoes to
this
fill.
stuff. Yeah. Sounds like it.
But I love that you go through the whole movie, though, without ever knowing his name.
Interesting. Okay. Are we done? Are we done now with you talking about Tenet without destroying Tenet for anyone else?
It's a great movie. I highly recommend it. It has everything you want in a action Chris Nolan-esque movie. You've got a vampire. You've got a Ballers guy. I mean, it's great.
Robert Pattinson's in it? I thought he was busy on Batman, but okay.
Yep, he's Batman and Twilight. See what I did there? Okay.
Yeah, I love it. Are we done? Is that it?
That's it, man. That's it.
Yeah. I watched.
need you to go see it so we can have like a spoilers episode on it.
Yeah, let's do that. I watched. I'm Thinking of Ending Things on Netflix. Did you see the previews for that?
Say that. What? What? What'd you say?
I'm Thinking of Ending Things.
No, I've not even heard of that. What is that?
That's terrible. I hated it. I hated every second of it. It was the most long, drawn-out thing I think I've ever watched. I usually love Charlie Kaufman films, and this one was not my cup of tea. I'm sure. It was Charlie Kaufman. It's very well made. But it's just
has Jesse Plemons in it.
Who's Jesse Plemons?
He plays Jake in it.
Yeah. Okay. But who is he? Why do you know him? I don't know him.
He's in Breaking Bad, isn't he?
No. Or at least I don't know.
Yeah, he's in Breaking Bad. He's in.
I didn't watch Breaking Bad.
What?
I assumed you were thinking of Aaron Paul, who played Jesse Pinkman in Breaking Bad.
No.
It's somebody else.
He's also in Game Night. He's like the psycho cop in Game Night. What else is he in recently that he was pretty good in? He was in Black Mirrors on the episode where he's the creepy guy who like clones his office people. And
creepy guy sounds right. Yeah.
On a Star Trek ship.
Yeah, I could see him typecast as a creepy guy many times. So I'm Thinking of Ending Things. I would just say no spoilers here, but who was that? Oprah
Friday
said
Night Lights. That's where he got his big break.
Oprah said when somebody tells you who they are, you should pay attention to that. And I'll just say that about I'm Thinking of Ending Things. Like, when somebody tells you who they are, by which I mean when the title of the movie tells you what it's about, you should just pay attention to that. So, if you thought like, hey, it's going to be like this quirky, fun sort of thing, because those are the Charlie Kaufman stuff that I love the most, like a Being John Malkovich or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of like a quirky, fun, like sort of thing, but also like kind of deep and bizarre and weird, or adaptation, favorite John Kaufman stuff, yeah, no, not like that at all. More depressing.
Oh, well, I did watch, upon your recommendation, the second season of The Umbrella Academy.
Oh yeah, how'd you like that? Did you finish it?
Didn't really like it very much.
Oh, man, I liked it better than first season.
I would say the opposite. I more thoroughly enjoyed the first season.
Man, big fan. I watched the first episode of Ted Lasso. Have you seen that on Apple TV? Ooh, that might be the funniest thing I've seen in a very long time.
So to be clear, you didn't have time to go see a movie this week, but you've had time to watch all of these other things.
I'm thinking of ending things. Jen and I watched after the first wedding we shot, and Ted Lasso we watched after the second wedding we shot. And Ted Lasso was very much needed because I needed funnies after I'm thinking of ending things. And we only watched one episode of Ted Lasso. It's like a series, and it's amazing. It might be one of the funniest, best, most uplifting things I've seen in a very long time. It's got like big Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt vibes, where it's like the main character is just enthusiastic and optimistic and just somebody you want to root for. But it's also very funny. Just scathingly funny. Very good stuff. You'd like it. Okay. It's Jason Sudeikis.
Yeah, I like Jason.
We should call it quits. It's been an hour and 20 minutes. I said we had to keep episodes down to 55 minutes, so this has gone longer than I said.
Try.
You tried, and I just was like, no, let's keep going. Let's keep going. Let's talk about all this stuff nobody cares about at the end. Yeah. Let's talk about Tenet without talking about Tenet.
It was a Tenet. So I saw the movie with Luke, and the movie opens, and I turned to Luke and I said, wait, this isn't a movie about tenants versus landlords? And Luke looked at me like...
Did Luke just walk out? He's just like, Dustin would just walk right out.
That's the beautiful thing about going to the movies right now, is like you have the whole theater to yourself because nobody else goes.
I love it.
Yeah, it's like a private screening. But, all right, good night, buddy. I'll see you. See you at your next birthday.
Good night, Dustin. Wedding Photo Hangover was edited this week by Steve Van Elk of Bespoke Tone. Go to Bespoke Tone for all of your photo, video, and audio editing needs.